How you're doing? Ralphy here, Ralfy Customs, back on our house, AJS Softail chop. Look, let's have a look. So regular readers will be up to speed with this. So we have goosenecked it. We've cleaned a load of shit, tabs and whatnot off it. We've fitted an headstock that's suitable for the Suzuki GS500 front end. And we've just got the motor in place, jigged up and squared off, so everything lines up as far as his driveline goes. What we need to do next is start making plates to mount the motor in 3 positions. There's an hole underneath as well that's secured by the frame. Sorry, I'm not showing you very well, but we're not going to bother with that. I believe 2 at the back each side and 1 at the front is going to be more than enough to keep that lump where it needs to be. So here's the plan. What we're going to do is make triangle brackets that go onto welded on or welded in, depending on location, inserts that are in the frame. 2 in the frame, 1 in the engine. That gives us a nice triangle which is super strong. What I need to do is measure the pitch of the holes. The 2 in the frame, I always do the same at 50mm centres, pretty much. Works for me. Plenty of strength, plenty of room to weld, they look good. What I don't know is this. So I'm going to measure eyeball from the middle of that to the middle of the frame, and through the camera I can't really tell, but it looks about 37mm to me. You can see where the ruler's teeter-totting on that bit of tube, so I'll mark that 37mm. I'll do the same with the bottom here, eyeball it through. They're a bit further, isn't there? So line it up with the middle of the hole. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Liz just pointed out my really bad camera work. That's 45. So on and so forth. And then we'll get some plates marked out, the right pitch, plot out the shape of them and get them cut out. So we've got a bit of suitable plate, and the round things are going to be 19mm because we've got a nice 19mm also that's not going to be too big for the thinnest tube. So I'm going to make the plates have a 20mm radius in all the corners. So this radius from the hole will be 10mm with 20mm diameter. So I'm going to mark that. I'm going to give myself a datum on it, 10mm all the way along, and I'm going to give myself a start on the first hole at 10mm. Now I know that we have got, looking at my sheet, the biggest ones are 45, so I'll come 45 off that line, which is 55 off the edge. Turn the roll around the right way, you dickhead. So 55 off the edge is 45 off the line, and that's where the hole will be. And then because we're going to cut it out, we want to go another 10mm so we know where the edge of the plate's going to be. Oh, hello, fumble it a bit, sorry about that. So 65 and 55 like that. And then because I know that I like my hole centres at 50mm on these brackets, we can go along, mark 50mm for that hole, so 50mm for that hole, and then we can mark 60mm from that hole, 70 from the edge for the edge of the bracket there. So there's the 3 holes, and there's the ends of the bracket that will be radius. I'll use a little radius tool just to give me some idea of the shape for when it comes to cutting them out, or just cut them out a bit big, you know, make sure that I've left enough to shape them how I want them. So there's what we've got, look. We've done a pairs, 2 at 45, 2 at 40, and that refers to the square there. We've got 50, all of them are 50mm pitch for where they go on the frame, yeah? And then we've got different thicknesses, different widths for where they bolt to the engine. So these are not matched pairs. They don't all fit because this rail's out a bit. Look, we've got 40mm that side and we've got 37 that side from memory. And if you put a straight edge on here, you can see that rail's out, such as the AJS made in China frame. But as coincidence would have it, it does work out that we need 2 at 45, 2 at 40, 2 at 37. Now, if that was 38, I'd just do 4 at 40 or 4 at 39, or, you know, you could average it out. A millimetre here and there is not the end of the fucking day when you're setting shit into a tube and bolting it to an engine. But I do like consistency, obviously. So, anyway, that's what we've got. We've got them marked out where the centres are of the holes, and we've got them marked out where the plates are going to terminate. So now we can cut them before we drill them and shape the corners using a version of one of these. Well, we won't be shaping the corners with that, but that's the guide. You'll see. I use them all the time. File guide is the official name, but we won't be using a file, but we will be using them as a guide.
Don't forget, folks, our Fuckstock stickers are now available in our Etsy store, link in the description below. Fuckstock, you know it makes sense.
So we made a fucking wood saw blade and half there, look at that. You don't want to fucking get on the wrong end of that. I've just run round it with the sander quick and deburred it, and I've deburred these properly. So there's no nasties on there. What I do next, even though they're all marked out and I've scribed them all and they all should be the same, what I like to do is level up the bottom, level up the side, and then on them straight edges put a little tack of weld. So we weld them together as pairs, and then when we're drilling them and when we're shaping them, they'll be the same. It can't not be the same. Now, as I say, with this job, they're not matched pairs. We've not got a 40 next to a 40 on the job because the frame's a bit all over the place. The original frame's a bit all over the place. But I still want to do that. I still work like that. So level the bottoms up, level the side up. I'll do it off camera better. And then put a tack on each straight side before we go over to the pillar drill and drill them out. And when I say me, I mean Lizzie a lot. Lizzie, the tacking queen. She's going to get a couple of tacks on these plates, whoosh, and then she'll put one on the other side, and there'll be a matched pair when they're done, won't there? She gets extremely nervous on camera, but she's very, very fucking capable. Trust me, she is. Happy days. So, next up, we can get them sensor drilled. In preparation for the mounting holes that we're going to put in them, and we're going to use their mounting holes to form a shape with that filing guide that I was just on about. So we tend to drill all 3 holes in all 6 brackets. That centre punch ain't deep enough. There we go. Right, now we're over at the mighty Meddings. Now they've all been centred drilled, and we're just going to go through and open them all out to 8mm. Now the big ones, the front ones that go to the engine are going to be 10mm or 10mm clearance. But for the purposes of shaping it, we're just going to stick to 8mm for now, like. So that is all happy days. So once again, look, we have the mighty Lizzie, who's just threatened to stick a screwdriver in my ear, drilling the last of the holes. So now all the holes are drilled by me and the beautiful Lizzie, we're going to use this file guide is what they're called, but this one is the right size. It's 20mm because the bits that are going on the frame are going to be 20mm, and it's got a 10mm hole through it, although they're only 8, but an 8mm bolt goes down at the inside of a 10mm thread quite nicely. So this one and that one will both fit whether you've got an 8mm or a 10mm hole in the plate, so they're a little bit universal. And all we do is nip it up, and then we tap it until it's lined up with the edges that we're going to work to, and then we can use our flappy disc in the angle grinder to knock that top off and shape it to this. So we just touch this as we sand it up, and it'll give us a nice consistent radius, and we do that on all of the corners so that all of the plates and all of the corners are the same, nice and consistent. Simple. Far easier than using a rotary table on the milling machine or something like that, because it's a bit unnecessary for general fabrication work. Rightio there, so there's some ow bastard, that's hot. Ow what? Fucking hot. Right, there's 3 pairs done. Round it, we levelled off the long side. We're still tacked together, so we've not levelled off the short side. But what I need to do is now open these out to 10.5, and then we'll get them split and we'll give them a little deburr, and Bob's your fucking answer. Behold, the handlebar collection has been sorted by Lizzie, and then me and our squash have just finished it off this morning, and we have sorted the shelves of doom out. Look, that's fucking hell, you made a good job of that, mate. Thanks. Everything nice and tidy. I should have one shelf which is stacked to the top with all of this shit, and I couldn't see, you know, the stuff on here I've forgotten I own because of that. So the handlebars are now up in the gods. And the shelves are looking a bit tidier. That bottom 2 are still a mess. Might do them next. And that top one's still a mess. There you go. Right, but I digress. What I'm actually on with this job now is sorting out these engine mounts. It's the next week for me. I've had a shit week. We were off last week, mostly bad. Managed to do a bit, which you've just seen up until this point, or up until the clip before this one. The handlebar clip. So we're back fresh now, trying to get back into the swing of it. What I've realised is that these bolt-on plates that I really like, yeah, we need to avoid the chain. So instead of going downwards, they are now going to go upwards. So where they bolt on the frame here is not interfering with this drive, because it would have been down here, and that's a bit close to the chain. It would be the time you got a plate and a bolt head, and not happy at all. So we've cocked that one up. I don't mean fucked it. And the bottom one we are going to have welded on because we're tight. So we're going to make a little spacer now that goes in that gap there that's not focusing, and that is going to get tacked to the frame, and that can be fixed because the engine comes out the other side. So that will all be absolutely sound. And I'm going to do that first before I start getting these plates on and sorting shit out, because that will tether the engine absolutely in the frame. Right, so now we've got a sexy little bracket that's well out of the way of the chain. We've got a little spacer in there making the gap up, and I'll just get a couple of tacks on, and that'll anchor the engine perfectly in the frame so that we can get drilling holes and fucking about and not worry about it moving. So if you're right, mind your eyes. Yep. Now just get one at the bottom, mind your eyes. There we go. Right, with that done, we can now bolt up the other 3 plates on this rear, making sure that they line up with the plate with these tubes that are not quite square to each other. So they're all a little bit different. I will mark them for Al. I'll put a stamp on to give him some indication in code, you know, rear upper left or something, rear upper right and all that. And we can measure what we need to go in there and write down. Look, I want 22mm long bits of this that are threaded. They're going to go into the tube on this side because they're a bit short to weld and have a thread, although I could possibly do that. I might still do that. And they're definitely going to sit on the outside here and space them up. So I'll give myself some marks. 35mm will fit in there. 30mm will fit in there. And I have gone for 22mm on this side that allows it to be sunk in, which I'm debating not doing. I'm debating just sitting them on top but taking the 8mm through, if that makes sense. So I'll do a pilot hole through the middle of this hole into the tube, open it out in the tube to 8.5, and then sit a threaded boss on this plate and weld around it. So if your bolt's a bit long, it goes into the tube. That is more than thick enough, whatever that gap is. 10mm, something? Don't know, I'll measure it. Less than a little finger, and that's 1/2 inch. So I'll have a look, not sure yet, might sink it in, might not. Anyway, our Josh is merrily cutting away, he's just making a drink, but he's merrily cutting me the slugs away. We'll get these on the lathe, face to length, drilled and tapped, and ready to weld on. Okay, so, like I say, just turn my digital readout, DRO on. We'll give this clean up, just a light cut, and we'll break that edge. And then I'll do the same with the other end. Fucking hell, tight. And measure it. And I think that Josh cuts things a little bit long, which is good because it's safe. So I'll take a fucking look, not scared. Scared, not scared. I'll take that down to true, like so. Break the edge again, even though these aren't finished, because I'm going to take it out and measure it and work out how much too long it is. But if you face it both ends and break that edge, it don't matter which end you put back in, you can't get it wrong. It just makes it easier. Anyway, I'll take that down to length. Righto, they're all done. They're down to length. So we'll come in with the centre drill just to get the party started. Like kisses in the kitchen, double lube on. So that's what separates us from the animals. Check out the merch in the description below. Right, so now we're coming with a tapping drill for M10, so 8.7, I believe. And we'll run that all the way through. I've just realised that I'll have to tell our Josh to cut me another one. But I won't. What I'll do, I'll spin this around and we'll have a slight void look, total transparency. I'm fucking set up for the wrong thread. We're not cutting these for M10, we're cutting on for M8, aren't we? Bollocks. So, what I've done, I've drilled the back out a little bit to give us a bit of a void, which I'll probably do actually. I will, yeah, fuck it. That's a good fucking prompt. They're 20mm, give me a 3mm, 4mm wall, takes me down to 16, 15, I'll get a 14. I'll get a 14mm drill and drill the arse end out of them so they're better to weld. Good fucking happy accident, that one. So now I've done the pilot drill, I can go in with it 9/16 just to lighten the load and give us a bit more penetration when it comes to welding them onto the frame, look. So much like I do when I make the seat mounts, if you've seen me do that. It's a bit of a squeaker, isn't it? So we'll just do that, boosh. And then we will spin it round and drill it out and tap it M8. Alright, so we're actually drilling it out 6.8. Yeah, I would have thought. Ready to take an M8 thread. I've done the other ones. It's probably, yeah, it's too hot. Fuck that. Burnt my fingers then, thinking about showing you. So we drilled that out ready to take the thread. I'm just changing over my tooling so I can come in with a countersink tool. Just like this, and I just want to give myself a lead up to that thread to go in, so I'll just have a little kiss, a little bit more maybe. Happy days. Slow things down a bit. Give myself enough stick out so I'm not going to clout my carriage with my tailstock. Get that tapping away like so, not spinning if you don't mind. I just need to, oh here we go, it's gone for it. I need to nip that up when I take it out after I've done this one because it's not supposed to spin like that. Through with that, into reverse, into fast, and have it out. Sorted. So that is now ready to weld on. Let's just have a blowout. Blow the shit out. Just carefully blow this walk away. And we'll get on and make the rest of them. Better shot of that tapping action. Oh, hold on, bear with. Just my dad really likes it. So I moved him around a bit, doing the second one. Plenty sticking out so we don't foul the tailstock on the cross slide. And I'm now hands-free. The only thing I'm holding is the clutch, it's the drive of the lathe like. So once it's cut through, there you go, stops cutting, you can hear it. That is a full depth cut. We can reverse it out. I often speed it up as I did on the last one, but I couldn't be arsed on this one, so it works its way back out. Yeah, like so, have that out of the way. Really, pick a gear, any gear. Have a come back fast. give it a blowout, and the job's a fish. Okie fucking dokie. So we have those obviously on purpose counterboard and then M8 that fit in the bottom just nicely. Yeah, we've got ones that are bigger for the top, excuse me, sat the juggler, we'll get that one next time, that just need a little bit of a fettle to fit in there. And then we've got plain ones, we've got some plain Janes that are just solid. I've not even faced the back up, although I will get that burr off because I do care, and they're going to sit in that tube onto that plate there. So we'll get them tacked in. We'll get them long ones slightly fettled. We'll just put a slight groove in there in the middle, just to leaf it off there a little bit to give us some wiggle room. And then we'll get them bolted up, and then we'll get them tacked in, and then we can get the old saw out and drill them holes out that side. So they're all fettled and tweaked, and all four are on. Don't bother cutting the bolts down, use a lock nut, then you can save these for a future job. And I know that these plates line up with this one, which is what we want. So I'll get a couple of tacks each one, and Bob's your answer. Let me just get through here. Start at the bottom so we're not dropping shit if anything falls on the one that we're going to tack next. So manual.
Yep.
One in there, and then one in there, one in there, and then one in there. Oh, ping! Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
One in there, and then one in there. And last but not least, one in there, one in there. Happy days. So when it comes to this, we're going to use the old saw to drill holes in the tube, but to line it up, what I did before I bolted it on was, before I tightened it up and put the spacer in, was lay it flat on this tube, mark through where the holes are, and then centered up those. And I've double checked, and I should be golden. So what I'm going to do is just run a center drill, run a pilot drill in, like so, into both tubes. Fucking hell, it's quite tough, this tube. Oh, is that the juggler again? Yeah, in both holes. And then I'll move the plate out of the way. I can't see that centre point. I'll move the plate out of the way and get the hole saw in. Right, but then both, these pilot drills are shit, and I've gone 4, that's 6, so it might not, we'll see. It might not drill very happy, but we'll give it a whirl show. They're both, oh actually, yeah, that's alright. So now, we are going to drill, fucking hell, into there, with the hole saw. So, with a little bit of fucking fettling and using the right hole saw, it's been one of them days. I nearly drilled it out way too small. But remembered in time, well realised, not remembered, realised in time and cut them plugs out. And it's just a little bit of a skim off where these come through, because obviously this is round, so it starts to close in on the corners of it. We can get that one there ready. I'll get that tacked up. A little bit of anti-spatter. I use a lot of this shit. And that is the rear engine mounts done. Okay, with all those rears done, we've only got the fronts left. What we need to do is make some spacers, much like the standard ones, but a bit longer, to reach outside the frame when the plate's on. Now I'll go down. When the plate's on that way, so they need to be long enough that I can put the inserts in like I did on this mount. Yeah, and I need to make the inserts accordingly. So we'll crack on and get that done. Righto, so off camera I've made 4 of those threaded inserts to go in the frame, and now we're going to make the spacers that space the engine mount out to the outside of the frame, and they're quite long. I'm going to have to turn it between, put a live centre in the end. I think so, between centres, but put a live centre in the end, and it's a fucking stretch to drill out 10mm, but I reckon we'll be right. So I'm going to drill this to get a centre in. Right, fucking so. There was already a hole in there, that's all going to go bye-bye, as I just want to be nice and central, so so I can put a live centre in to support it while I'm profiling the outside of it. Okay, with that between centres, we need to move that back a bit. Hang on, let's have that out of the way. I'm going to come in with my passing blade and give myself some layout lines to work to. So we'll just touch off on there, look, like that. 0 my readout, then go along 3, which is for the tool, and then 4, which is for the bit that I need, which gives us 7. Come on, which is just there, right? Give myself a little squidge. It should really have a centre in to do this, but I am literally just marking it out, look. Like that. And now we mark the other end, so this is where it's going to cut off, look. See, I've put the centre back in. So that's where it's going to terminate. And then we need to move back 4 to the flange that's going to remain. We want the thickness of the tool plus 4 is 7, which is, I've just gone by it there. So that's what I'm going to work to. I've got the end of the piece and the end of the piece, and then I'm going to leave a flange at 25, and we're just going to waste this down, turn that down a little bit so we're not got such a chunky monkey. Okay, with that marked out, I've come in with my chamfer with this tool. I've touched off, and I'm going to end up taking about 3mm off altogether. So let's go into 3mm, which is there, and let's back that out. I think 3mm, we're going to do this on the fly, back that out until we hit a marking out line, and then take it back along, and we can let the power feed run it that way, right fucking so. Oh, bear with. You know, we're having a bit of a fast this morning. I'll just touch on again. Just say 3mm. 3mm there. Yep. Away she goes, Captain. I might go a little bit more. That 3mm off gives us 22, which is still a bit fat. The standard ones are quite thin. They're like a bit of tube where a washer spot welded on the end, which is not what I want to replicate. I just want to give it a bit of something nice to look at, don't I? So 3 off 25 is 22. I might do another 1mm light skin pass just to make it look a bit slimmer and stretchier. I've decided, so I've gone in another mil. We'll just take that up to that shoulder, like so, and then send it. Nice bit of lube on there. Just up to that other shoulder, and then I think we can part it off, because the parallel bit in the middle there is long enough to sit between the jaws of the chuck. So we ain't got to worry about drilling it with all that shit hanging out like we are. I think that'll be the plan. So I'll run this up to that shoulder, give it a polish with some emery to give it a nice finish, break the edges and all that, and then part it off. And we can chuck it up on the new, that skinny waist bit that we've just made. So we can get a nice true 10.5 hole all the way through it. Alright, I'm just coming up on that shoulder now. So I'll knock the auto feed off when I get close up, like so, and just take it up to there. So that's all good. Let me sort out some emery, like fucking so. So give me the nice bit of emery. And we'll give that a good clean up. Okay, with that cleaned up, we can part it off and get ready to just drill it through. Just check my 0 like that, and then we're on 83 on the Richter scale. So happy days. And with the centre out of the way, I don't like parting off with the centre in, it jams up on the tool. So we will literally just centre that off. Anyone who has trouble with centering, with potting, there's a few tips and tricks. One is make sure that your tool is up to the job. This lathe just shatters 2mm parting tools, 3mm at the limit, and make sure you're on height. I don't hold with running them slow either. I'm absolutely flat out at that. Make sure they're dead on centre height, that's really important, and obviously make sure you've got as rigid a setup as you can get. We don't want any fucking slack and crappy tool holders trying to support it. And plenty of lube. This is always better with plenty of lube. Bastard, that's hot. So, with those made, there's another one here. It's not too hot to handle. There you go. There's one. There's the other one. They're slightly different lengths because of the offset that we're dealing with. All that's left really is to very, very carefully drill them through 10.5. So, what I'll do, I will start drilling away, and I will regularly withdraw to clear the swarf, lube it up, and go again until we're absolutely all the way through. Now we're getting pretty balls deep on it, so what I like to do is withdraw. Look at all that stuck in there. Give it a good lube up. Try not to kiss the edge of the hole with a drill bit as you go in, and then go a little bit more. Don't let the flutes proper clog up, otherwise you'll be welding the fucking drill bit to the job, or destroying the drill bit at the very least. It should be about all the way through now, I'm hoping, because we're running out of flutes on the drill, aren't we? So go again, and then plunge in the plunge and just get it through that last bit. There we go, sorted. Happy days. Right, with them made and finished, see how they have to come in, because I don't know if you can see, but there ain't any fucking room. The engine case dips in. There you go, thank you. And these plates bolted on. What I'm doing, I'm eyeballing through so that this back edge is parallel with the tube. I'm going through with a transfer punch to mark where the holes go. So that one's going to go about there, like that. And then this one is going to go about there, like that. Oh, I didn't go through properly. Watch that. Must be a burr on that one or something. There we go. That's just me fumbling it. So now we can make them punch marks a bit deeper, and we can drill out ready to take the threaded bits. Okay, if you've been following along with this, you'll know there's been a few issues with symmetry and things lining up. For example, this isn't in the middle of the frame, it's a bit that way, so we've had to try and correct that on our way up to the headstock. We have done to a certain degree, but we're not going to be cutting them out, moving them along. These don't quite sit straight across here as well, so everything's all a bit mismatched as far as plates and everything go. Now, unfortunately, the same is true with these front rails. These are mine, I put these in, and I made them as true as I could, but I had to follow the existing. The join is somewhere here, not sure where. And that means that these front plates, which are exactly the fucking same, when you bolt them on there, they don't fucking line up quite right. That one's a bit too far forward, where the hole is, the top hole that you've just seen me mark. So we've had a think and work out the best way around it, and decided that the best way around it is to step these threaded inserts down so they will still sit in the frame tube without breaking out the front, which they may well have done at the size they were, and once the plates are on both sides, it'll look fucking gleaming. You know, you look at that plate, look at that plate, they're both the same, they're in the same position, everyone's a winner, rather than having odd plates on the front. Although we have got very slightly odd plates on the rear, but all of these are in the middle, so that's how we've got around that other little fluctuation in the old Chinese AJS frame. Right, that's worked out a treat. This one has crept forward a little bit there, but we knew it weren't central, but it sits lovely. And once it's all welded up, it will be absolutely fan-davidoza. So that's both of them front plates on the spacers, everything's in place and tightened up. We'll get a couple of tacks on each one, both sides, and then we can take the engine out and weld them all up. Right, mind your eyes, mate. Hold on, turn my mask on, that'd help. Here we go, try again. One on the top. Happy days. Okie fucking dokie, so that came out nice and easy. We've got access to everything that we need to get into weld up. We'll give it a quick weld up. And there is a few things that need removing. This is on the swing arm. There's a repair there where it's gouged out on the swing arm. And there's these brackets. And I don't know if that bracket needs coming off or that one or both of them. So I might have to take the shockers out, which looks like it's going to be a right cunt of a job. I think weld up. Try and get this bolt out, try and get the swing arm out, and then have a quick grindy cutty and fettle on the last few bits and chuck it all back together. So there we go, we've had it apart, we've welded it up, we've cleaned off loads of shitty brackets from all over the place, so a right carbuncle pigeon shitted on the back of here, and there was that excuse me, big cutout there that someone had ground into it, or the chain had done or whatever. I'm not sure how it happened, but that's now filled and sanded smooth. Everything is in place using shop fasteners, and everything is hunky-dory. So that is the frame mods and the engine completely fitted. So there you go, there's another thrilling instalment on our AJS Softail / Suzuki GS500 project. It just leaves me as always to say, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. Consider joining or subscribing at the very least. It makes a massive difference. All the bump is in the description below, yeah? There's merchandise there, there's links to good shit. So check it out, and I will catch you on the next one. Big love everyone, see you soon.